Have you ever watched power change someone you once trusted? Not all takeovers happen with armies. Some happen quietly, with flattery, fear, and silence. And long before thrones were inherited by bloodlines, God allowed a story to be told that warned generations about what happens when ambition outruns character. That warning didn't come from a crowned king or a mighty prophet. It came from a survivor standing on a mountain, lifting his voice not to seize power, but to speak truth. His name was Jotham, and his words still echo wherever leadership is chosen without God. Jotham was the youngest son of Gideon, also known as Jerubbaal, the judge God used to deliver Israel from Midian. After Gideon's death, Israel stood at a crossroads. Gideon had refused to be king, insisting that God alone should rule over his people. But the spiritual restraint Gideon lived by faded quickly once he was gone. One of his sons, Abimelech, born to a concubine from Shechem, sought power through manipulation rather than calling. He persuaded the leaders of Shechem to support him, using shared blood and political promises to secure their loyalty. To remove all rivals, Abimelech committed an unthinkable act. He murdered 70 of his brothers on one stone, silencing an entire generation in a single day. Only Jotham escaped, hidden by God's mercy. When Abimelech was crowned king by those who enabled the bloodshed, Jotham did not gather an army or seek revenge. Instead, he climbed Mount Gerizim and spoke a parable that pierced deeper than swords. He told the people a story about trees seeking a king. The olive tree refused to abandon its oil. The fig tree would not forsake its sweetness. The vine would not leave its wine. But the bramble, useless and dangerous, eagerly accepted the role, offering false shade and threatening fire. Jotham's message was unmistakable. When worthy leaders refuse to rule for selfish gain, the unworthy rush in, and their reign brings destruction. He warned that if Abimelech's rule was unjust, fire would come from both sides and consume them all. Then Jotham fled, leaving the words to work like seeds planted in conscience. Time proved his prophecy true. God sent division between Abimelech and the leaders of Shechem. Betrayal followed betrayal, violence answered violence, and the alliance built on blood collapsed under its own corruption. Shechem was destroyed. Abimelech was humiliated, and his life ended not in honor but in disgrace. Struck down by a woman's hand and remembered for cruelty, not greatness. What Jotham spoke in a moment of courage unfolded slowly but inevitably under the justice of God. This story reminds us that leadership without God's guidance is dangerous, no matter how convincing it appears. The bramble always promises shelter, but it cannot provide life. When people choose leaders based on familiarity, fear, or advantage rather than integrity, they often discover too late that ambition burns hotter than it protects. God allows such choices, but He does not ignore them. Jotham also teaches us that truth spoken at the right time carries lasting power even when it seems ignored. He had no army, no throne, and no platform beyond a mountain and a voice. Yet God used His words to expose injustice and fulfill His judgment. Speaking truth does not require control over outcomes. It requires faithfulness in the presence of God and trust that He will act in His time. There is also comfort here for those who feel like the overlooked survivor. Jotham was the youngest, the hunted, the one left behind after tragedy. Yet God preserved him, not to rule, but to witness. Sometimes God does not elevate us to positions of power. Instead, He positions us as messengers, protected by His presence and strengthened by the quiet confidence that He sees all. In the end, the story of Jotham is not just about a warning against bad leadership. It is about God's unwavering justice. Power gained through violence will unravel. Authority built without reverence for God will collapse. And even when evil seems crowned and celebrated, God remains sovereign, working patiently until truth stands revealed. Jotham's voice fades from the narrative, but his message remains clear. God is not impressed by crowns, titles, or applause. He watches the heart, judges the path, and ensures that no throne built on injustice stands forever.